Welcome to Pound for Pound ATL, arguably the best place to get facts and opinions on your Atlanta Falcons. And absolutely the best place to get your opinions in. The guys are here, the chat is ready, and the conversation starts now.
What's going on, football fans? It's back. We're back. We're live. Technically not at Flowery Branch. I know Flowery Branch is behind us because it's training camp, man. We are having fun. Super excited about the guys. You know, the players being back at camp and up and going. So, dude, yeah, there's just so much to get into. Looks like we might be having an issue. Can y'all hear me? Can everybody else hear me? Chat, if y'all are experiencing any kind of technical difficulties, let me know. Toby D, what's going on, brother?
Man, excitement. That's what's going on. Hearing all the great things coming out at camp, seeing all the clips that's coming out. They had a longer clip today, as a matter of fact. So I'm just excited, man, about what the team's getting ready to do and can't wait to get into talking about them. Mike Doug, what you got going on today?
Hey, same, man, same. I think that I'm excited to see the battle, right? Like, I think with this team, we wanted to see, you know, like I said, everybody looks good in shirts and shorts, but shoulder pads are on, right? And we're seeing some guys step up and make plays, you know, and some guys who we really haven't heard as much from without shoulder pads. So I think it is a good sign. I think that, you know, we might be on the fringe of something special. You know, it's hard to pontificate on what this season could. We're not at that point yet, right? But I think what we're seeing right now is encouraging, right? So, you know, it's a lot to touch on this week, man. You know, it's a really hot rookie that everybody's excited about. There's some of those Grizzly linebackers who look like they're taking that next step, continuing to progress. So I don't know where we're going to start, but I'm excited to talk about every bit of it. Talk to him, JR.
Well, okay. So most of y'all probably saw it, you know, me tweeting out on Saturday. I was live at Flowery Branch. That picture that you see behind us, you know, that was from, you know, my vantage point on top of the hill. And, man, it was so good to be back at Flowery Branch after a year not being able to, you know, go and see the team like we've been, like we normally do, being back in, you know, up in the facility, you know, at least, you know, as a fan, you know, it was a ton of fun. Like my one, like, funny anecdote, I guess you could say, is, when we were walking in, like, through the parking lot, me and my buddy had to stop and let these two cars back up. And they were two of the nicer cars, so I was like, you know, you never know, right? Mm-hmm. And when the guy rolled his window down as he was backing up, it was Richie Grant. So he come right there in front of us, because apparently they had parked in the wrong spot. It was probably him and another rookie, right? Just probably parked in the wrong spot. But I got a good smile, like, right out the gate, because, you know, he was chuckling and he was laughing. And so it was cool to see that. And but I'm going to go ahead and call it. I mean, the vibe was a lot different this time than previous camps. Not only was it the setup was a little bit different as far as where the fans were. They actually had family up on the hill with us instead of down on the sideline like in previous years. But the pace of practice was different too. And that was something that I noticed. It's like almost right off the rip, they jumped into, you know, 11 on 11 and, you know, 7 on 7, you know, type drills. There wasn't a ton of individual drills. It was a lot of team drills. And I found that to be, you know, very interesting. And I wondered to myself, I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're just doing this because the fans are here. You know, because Saturday was the first, like, open practice to the fans, right? So I was like, okay, maybe they're just trying to put on a show. But as we have gone on through the week now with, you know, other people reporting from camp, that seems like that's what Arthur Smith likes to do. It seems like he likes a lot of, you know, 7 on 7, a lot of, you know, 11 on 11, you know, type, you know, simulations, which I think is very interesting. I even saw something that reminded me of almost like a version of an Oklahoma drill. It's like they were working on doing like open field tackling, which was good to see. So that's like my opening, like salvo. I don't want to like just dominate the whole front part, but what are y'all's early thoughts, or is there anything that like from camp that y'all want to ask about right quick?
Well, I think I'll start with this. I think, seeing a team start off like right before you kind of warm up and get into it, let me know that every day is going to be a competition, right? So I think you want to see the competition out of this, right? So I think being able to practice right out of the gate, show these guys that, hey, look, if you can play, we need to find out. It's almost like 10 minutes into practice. Can you play? Make a play. C-ball, can you handle Kyle Pitts 15 minutes into practice? And it looks like not a lot of people are able to do that right now, which, again, can we go ahead and just talk about this guy, Kyle Pitts?
Let's do it.
I do it.
First and foremost, if there's anybody Atlanta Falcons marketing department or their publicists, and if you are watching this show, please let us know what for me, I want to know what is it that we don't feel comfortable enough to get this guy a unicorn emoji. Because to me, a unicorn is you see one of those guys, right? And with Kyle Pitts being like, what's a realistic expectation for this guy? Because I don't necessarily know if there is one, because I haven't seen a guy that is this big, this fast, this strong. You put him in motion, you flex him out as a slot. What do we have in this rookie? Start there for me.
Dude, like, I'll tell you this, man. Like, snap to snap, he was in a different spot. Like, snap to snap, he was lining up in the slot. He was in line with his hand in the dirt. He was lining up, out wide as the X position. Like, they are geared up and ready to use this guy in any way that they seem fit. And so far, like, he ain't backing down from it. And that's good to see, And it doesn't seem that he's overwhelmed by it either. I mean, when's the last time we saw somebody, like, making contested catches in training camp like that on a consistent basis, And that, like, everybody's, oohing and ahhing about the one catch with, I think it was Fabian Monroe in coverage.
Yeah.
Where it hit on his knee and then he caught it again. Like, when's the last time we had a guy do stuff like that? Like, really, seriously. That's, man, like, that definitely has me super excited about what he potentially brings to the table.
Well, I'll say this. I'm definitely glad that I don't have to watch him on another team, because I said even if he went to another team, I was going to be a fan of this guy, because I felt like he was one of those types of generational players. And to see him ripping through like he was. Now, I know it's the Falcons defense, and they've been known to be bad over the last few years under Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. This guy is a pure professional film studying type of guy, and I can guarantee you, he looked at that film and said, you know what, I see some other opportunities I can get, not only in the practice, but in the game as well. And him and Matt Ryan already seem like they've been playing together for a minute. Matt Ryan already know where to hit him. Mm-hmm. Okay? This guy's got, with that long reach, he's about 7 foot.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Even though some of our guys, Richie Grant, them have climbed the ladder, he still will make the catch. And that is what is fascinating and impressive to me.
Yeah.
And I'm loving it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think the thing that I like the most about Kyle Pitts is just his demeanor, right? I think that confidence and swagger is something that you almost expect out of a 3 to 4 year veteran, right? Because most rookies, they got a deer in headlights look. I've never gotten a sense from looking at this guy, hearing him talk, just everything we've seen about this guy. He seems like a guy that can't wait for the season to start. Like, some guys are just like, can I make it through practice today? He's already looking past. He's focused, but I think he's already looking forward to, like, what he's going to make his imprint on this season. And that's why, I do see a lot of the projections for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I'm usually, like I said, y'all know us here pound for pound. We really try to hold back on, like, projections and stuff like that. But again, I don't think it would surprise anybody in this fan base if he was our rookie of the year this year, just because, I mean, and again, this guy has an NFL game yet. I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah, no. It's,
so, JR,
go ahead. No, go ahead, Tommy.
I was going to say, man, so you was there Saturday. What do you think about your first initial look at what the defense could look like under Dean Pease?
Okay, I'm glad you like brought in that, because Kyle Pitts is the shiny toy that everybody like you need to. That's Christmas Day. That's that big one you've been eyeing for weeks on end. That's been under the tree. You unwrap that one first, but I was super focused on what this defense looked like, especially with guys like Dante Fowler on the COVID list, like who were they tabbing as their edge guys, because he's still projected to be our number one edge guy, right? Mm-hmm. So in the initial 7-on-7 when they broke for it, it was on the edge, it was Stephen Means and JTM. And what I want to say about that is JTM was all over the place. I think that at least early on, this coaching staff feels like they got something in JTM, that they got a versatile guy in JTM. I saw him up on the line, standing up. I saw him dropping into coverage. I saw him playing almost a linebacker role, which they have him listed as an outside linebacker. So if you're going to be listed as an outside linebacker, you're going to be asked to drop into coverage and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And you saw all that. And it's just interesting to see that from a guy that previous regimes had listed as a defensive tackle. To go from a defensive tackle to an outside linebacker and look comfortable doing it. That's the part that caught my eye. JTM in coverage didn't look bad. It didn't look like a defensive tackle in coverage, right? And, so at first I was eyeing that defensive line to see how, that was going to transpire. And you had, Grady Jarrett, and right out the rip, it was Tyler Davidson. But you saw Marlon Davidson work his, way in. The rotation of the defensive line was, a heavy rotation. That you can really tell that they're trying to figure out who fits where. They have an idea as far as who they think their starters are, but they're working in other guys like Cominsky, like Marlon Davidson, and Cominsky's starting to show up on tape as far as his power from the interior. That's starting to look like it's translating, which is good to see. He was a guy who I had earmarked as in might not make it kind of deal. I really felt like this year was a prove it year for Cominsky. Small school prospect, he needs time, right? We all knew that when we drafted him. Well, you've had time now. Now it's time to start showing it, and by all accounts, he is starting to show it. Right out the rip, you had Deron Harmon and Eric Harris as your safeties. Which I was kind of expecting Richie Grant to be getting more work, but again, that was Saturday. Here we are Wednesday, and Richie Grant is starting to find his way into the ones. So, I wasn't surprised to see that. I still think you're going to get a heavy mix of Eric Harris, but it wouldn't surprise me by the end of the season if Richie Grant wasn't your, starting free safety. I think he offers you a lot more. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that, but I just don't. I think Eric Harris is going to hold that down. And he was in single coverage in one of those clips, and he read it to the T and came from there, from playing his high safety role, and picked the ball off. And he didn't get a pick six, but that shows me that this guy watches film, and I already knew this because I watched previous interviews with him after Thursday night games and whatnot. And these guys study, man. And this is what you're going to get. And that's why I love AJ Terrell when they asked him, how does he see this secondary, and which one word he would call it? Savvy. I love that. It just means you got some intelligent, knowledgeable guys, man, that's going to make right decisions.
Right.
How many times have we seen guys just be out of position and just
Right.
make the wrong decision and read
especially-
something totally
Especially
wrong?
in the
Yeah.
safety. Especially in the safeties.
Which I guess which does kind of lead me to this next question. Like
Yeah.
cornerback too. Like, what are you seeing? Like, who's kind of like the early
Right now,
guy?
I think right now it's Fabian Moreau. Like, you know, it's Fabian Moreau, and it's Fabian Moreau. Like, oddly enough, the only one who like somewhat seems to be challenging him is like Chris Williams, the undrafted guy. Like Darren Hall's had a few good breakups. I know he ain't gonna want to hear it, but Isaiah Oliver is not looking great. At least not right now. I know, you know, our one super Oliver fan is not going to want to be hearing that, but
I don't
every
give
time
a
I
care.
every time I see Oliver, he is getting shredded. I was really hoping for that, you know, that nickel roll to, like materialize for Oliver, and it still may. I mean, there's still plenty of time. We ain't even made it to the first preseason game yet, but it really looks like that bullet roll, that nickel roll, the money backer, you know, may end up going to, you know, a guy like a Mykal Walker or like a Jalen Hawkins, which is, you know, a possibility. These guys do bring some versatility. If there's one word that I would use to describe this defense right now, this is a versatile defense.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know what that
Oh,
ends
boy.
up translating into as far as like on the field, but this is definitely a versatile defense. That's what is like. Mykal Walker is jumping out all over the field, and I'm loving to see that.
Yeah. Hey man, do they have a penny roll? Cause that's what Isaiah Oliver gonna be playing.
Oh no, a penny roll. Listen at you. Look now, we ain't trying to poke the bear. I'm just, you know, just calling it like I see it. I know I see you over there. I'm just calling it like I see it. You know.
Where this is
Oh.
coming from.
All right, well that's the opening salvo. Let's jump into this chat real quick and catch up with some folks. Grupel says he is first and ATL for life. We are glad you are here, Grupel.
I don't.
Root 417 gives us the big thumbs up. Thumbs up to you, sir. YMOF Jamal says, "What's up, pound for pound? What's going on, buddy?"
What's up?
Kojak Nantucket's in the room. What's going on, Kojak? Glad you up in here,
Kojak.
brother. Jared Sheffield said, "What's up, pound for pound? What's going on, man? I'm glad you're here, sir." Arden Sims says, "Let's go, fellas. Them pads are on now." Yes, they are. They are
Yes,
popping,
sir.
and it is time to start separating the punks from the players, so to speak. April Thomas says, "What's up, everyone? What's going on, April?" They assured us that everything
April.
is sounding good. They just gave me a
Thank you.
warning on my, you know, like live stream side, and then one that I have never seen before. So I was just trying to make sure everything was good. Melvin
Okay.
says, "What's up, pound for pound family? What's going on?" Woon Carter's in the house. He says,
Yeah.
let's see, yep. And Fred Butt says, "Already bought his Kyle Pitts jersey." Good job, Fred. I saw a lot of those. Walking
I'm
around
next.
Flowery Branch was a lot of Kyle Pitts jerseys
Smart
on
jersey buy.
Saturday. Chris
smart
Jameson
jersey, yeah.
says,
Jersey buy. Sorry, had to add that in. there.
no, it's all right. He said, Chris Jameson says, "By chance, did y'all see my boy Sanat out there handing out water bottles?" We did not see Sanat out there handing out water bottles. Sanat is probably just chilling on a couch somewhere. I
Nope.
suspect his name being up on the first ones to get cut. Genuine Music says, "What's up, fellas? What's going on, Genuine?" Ghost Pepper says, "I think our Falcons are going to be an NFL's most underrated playoff contender in 21. It's possible,
I
dude.
hope so.
Like,
It's possible.
you know, I'm not going to get out over my skis, but as I've been saying all offseason, I think the biggest upgrade that we have made is to the coaching staff. And
Right.
I think that that's going to have a big impact. It's just how quick can they get, like, in tune, you know? Like, how quick does the offense pick up what Smith's trying to do? How quick does the defense pick up what Pease is trying to do? And if they make those transitions quick, yes, I think that we could be a lot better than people are thinking. Ro Stockton says, "What's up, fellas? What's going on, Ro? Man, glad you
What's
are
going
here."
on?
So, all right. Now that we have caught up with the chat room, let's kind of just dive into some of the position groups, right? Leading up to this week, we've been talking about the different battles that we were looking forward to. Well, now these battles have started to take place, started to materialize. So let's do like I guess you could say like a 1 week check-in, so to speak. What battle has caught your eye? And I'm going to start with Mike. Mike, what battle has caught your eye?
Hey, man. You know what's funny? I wish I had a rock in my hand because it's the rock. And you might mean, what do you mean by the rock? I mean, it's those guys that tote it. And it's those running backs that tote that rock. And I would say from 1 to 5, I've seen all of their names pop up as having impressive days for something, right? That to me jumps out, right? Because I would say last year when we got Todd Gurley, we hoped one guy would be able to get us, over the edge. I think what I see out of this running back group so far, back to the can we make the playoffs? I'll go a little bit bold. I think we can make the playoffs with it won't be from the receiver position. It won't be Kyle Pitts, that running back room. I do think the versatility in that running back room for different ways has absolutely caught my eye. Couple reasons. Mike Davis is Mike Davis. Kind of know what we're going to get out of that guy. I think he's going to have a really good year. He's bought in. This is his dream team. We get the real Mike Davis.
Right.
An Atlanta guy. He's going to give everything he's got for this city. That's one. So I think the spirit of Mike Davis is good for us. It's good for this team. Cordero Patterson. I'll start with that guy because 6'2", 240. I was talking to Toby last week, and Toby reminded me that he said this. And maybe, like I said, I had to see it myself. But to see Cordero Patterson, Quadre Olison, walking side by side, and Cordell Patterson almost kind of towering over Quadre Olison, I said, man, we got us, we're looking at the big back in Quadre Olison, but we got us a real big back who has receiver skills in Cordell Patterson. That's another Swiss Army knife that we did not have last year. Again, it's one of those that the seed is playing with that guy. We know what kind of fruit we're going to get with that guy. Move on to the next guy. Javian Hawkins. Javian Hawkins outrunning the second team defense. Good start. Hey, you got to outrun the second team defense before you can outrun the first team defense. That's and again, the way he's running, he looks like he's on track to run past the first team defense. I'm excited to see what he can do in the preseason. He will be a guy, I think, Saturday when we go and we check these guys off Saturday. I just want to see him, live. Not a big guy, but a very quick guy. And again,
he brings that speed.
And lastly, look, I gotta give love to Caleb. What's his guy? Caleb Huntley.
Yeah.
And his pass blocking as well. He runs hard. So again, Arthur Smith will probably hand the ball off a lot in the preseason, and I cannot be more excited to see what these running backs are going to do with some live contact. Because I think one of those guys in a game is going to do something that's going to make everybody say, "Wow!" I just don't know which one is going to be first.
Right.
But hey, that's
no doubt.
Fine.
Toby.
Yeah, woo, boy, let me tell you something, Big Mike. You got me fired up, boy. I'm sitting over here. I gotta contain myself in the seat right now. I need some glue to hold me down because I'm ready to jump up in the ceiling. Because I'm excited about the running back group too. But I'm gonna go in another direction because I see some hunger there since somebody number 11 has been gone out of that wide receiver room. These wide receivers, I gotta give it to my boy Jimbo right now.
Oh yeah, I wish Jimbo was here. Boy.
Every clip just about I have seen, this boy has gotten better with his route running, and I'm very impressed with what number 13 is doing right now with how he's handling things. Olamide Zaccheaus is tearing it up. I mean, this dude's 5'8", 5'9", and he is ripping up the floor right now. And both of those guys, you know what they got in common? They are special teams aces. And they gonna make this team. Your boy number 88, I gotta mention him because Jazzy Jim might be watching. Number 88, man, Frank Darby is doing his thing. And what I like most about these guys is that these guys are doing what they did in college. And when it's already translating on the practice field, then I got huge confidence that's going to translate into game day with these guys doing exactly what they've done. You mentioned Javian Hawkins, man. And he's already burning people. And he did the same thing in college. And it's translating on the practice field. I got confidence it's going to translate in the game. JR, back to you.
And wait, one more.
Go ahead.
Hold on, JR. Hold on. Listen, I would go as far to say, and maybe this could be overkill, but Tajay Sharp, I was really high on him last week. But I think Christian Blake continues to make plays like this.
Oh, man.
You Tajay Sharp might look like Laquan Treadwell last year, so that's something to watch.
No, yeah, you look. I'm gonna go ahead and call it.
Hey, Jimbo ain't here to talk about it. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hey,
One of the things that I noticed, like, right out the rip, is that Russell Gage has truly cemented himself as wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
Now, wide receiver 2 doesn't necessarily mean, target getter number 2. Like, I
Right.
still think your target share is going to be, 1A, 1B, Ridley, and Pitts. Okay. But Russell Gage is doing everything that you wanted Russell Gage to do coming into this season. Once everything broke down and everything happened with number 11 and he left town, like, in a lot of ways, like, we already knew that Ridley was wide receiver 1. Then it was like, okay, who fills the vacuum behind him? Can Russell Gage step up? And at least to this point, Russell Gage is looking like a super solid wide receiver 2. He's doing everything that you've asked him to do. The big surprise to me is like what's going on between Zacchaeus and Blake. They seem like them two have been like joined at the hip like since they got here, so to speak. And it looks like they are still just like battling it out, and I'm loving watching it.
Man.
Familiar with Matt Ryan, and I think, like I said, what's crazy is this team has just the right amount of veteran leadership and kind of ignorant youth to actually make some moves. Because if you think about it like this, to Toby's point, Frank Darby looks like the guy that we saw on film at Arizona State.
Yep.
And again,
and I see it now.
We'll get more than 2 or 3 touchdowns, but I guarantee you, we're going to catch Frank Darby deep one game and just Darby going to go, and everybody's going to go crazy because that's the guy you root for. But
that's right.
I look at him, man, the more he gets in, like stays in the NFL, he's going to be that guy eventually. He's going to be the guy that's going to turn into the next Russell Gage. Because my only concern with Gage is Russell Gage plays the game a little too reckless for my liking. Russell Gage is the guy that sometimes likes to jump over a guy. He's got to cut out of that. He's the number 2 guy now.
Yeah,
so he's got to
right.
Yeah, you got to show the ability to play a little bit more under control, be a little bit more polished. You know what I mean? Because it's a long 17 games, and if not, then we're really gonna be talking about Zacchaeus being our number 2 guy. You know what I mean? So that's not necessarily ideal. But hey, we just got like I said, it'd be interesting to see how he grows as well. Because everybody, the good thing about this team is everybody's got something to work on. Nobody's able to come in as the guy, right? Because again, like when we were coming into the season, think about it like this. What would we tell Julio Jones he needed to work on? Can't really say, right? But these guys, everybody's got, you can see that everybody needs to, and I say for us, the more we play under control this year, again, we'll win those close games. Because the one thing I already see, and I'm going to push it over to you, JR, is we already have our red zone threat, and I'm going to start right there. Matter of fact, we got 2 of them, because Hayden Hurst, we ain't talked about him yet. He deserves.
I was fixing to get into it, because, dude, that 12 personnel is alive and real. Like, I did a video a couple weeks back talking about, the potential of what it could be. But watching what they did on Saturday with, how they moved Pitts around, and then what you were able to still do with, like, Hayden being on the field at the same time, dude, that 12 personnel is going to be like hot sauce. And like I'm gonna rename that 12 personnel from 12 personnel. I'm gonna start calling it Frank's Red Hots, because I'm gonna put that ish on everything. That's what I'm gonna throw at everything. It's like, you need a situation, I'm gonna throw 12 personnel at it. Because I mean, dude, it was I think the more they run it and the more they get in tune with it, it was a fun thing to watch. Our defense try to cover both Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst, along with Ridley being out there and, Russell Gage. Yeah. I think that's going to give – it may not give – in the first year it may not give, like, elite defensive fits, but it's going to give average defensive fits for sure. Right. And and then not just that, something we brought up before the show, not just 12 personnel, but 21 personnel. Like watching Keith Smith trying to do his best impersonation of Patrick DeMarco of 2016. Like, I'll tell you this, one thing I noticed, I even tweeted it out while I was at camp. One thing I noticed is there was a lot more throwing to backs coming out of the backfield than I've seen in recent years. Now, that was something that Arthur Smith didn't do a ton of up in Tennessee. And I don't know if that was just due to the personnel that he had. But he's definitely got
personnel.
Right. He's definitely got some better pass catching options coming out of the backfield here in Atlanta. And he looks to be eager to be using them.
Which is why going back to the running back room, I think we may have 4 running backs. Because that throwing out of the backfield, again, it goes back to what we talked about a couple of months back with Javian Hawkins. That breeds well for Javian Hawkins because, again, he's a guy you don't really want to give him more than 6 to 8 carries a game, but you do want to get him the ball out of the backfield. You do want to get him on the. You want to get him. You want to get Cordell Patterson in open space. Oh my goodness, he's a field. So that's what I'm saying. We didn't have any guys to flip field position, which is why, again, I got to disagree with a Falcon legend, Harry Douglas, because I was listening to an interview that he did on 929 Game with Hugh Douglas, where he talked about he was concerned that the offense looks to be ahead of the defense after a couple of practices. But I wouldn't say that that's necessarily a knock on the defense. I disagree that I don't think that that's a knock on the defense as much as I think that, like you said, Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts are pretty freaking hard to cover. Calvin Ridley, they're holding Calvin Ridley back. But Calvin Ridley is always a tough cover, because, again, I don't even want to go on Ridley. We don't even talk a lot about Ridley because Ridley is earned. We know what we got with Ridley. He's going to be ready to roll. Matter of fact, like I said, I like Arthur Smith holding him back a little bit because he knows what he's got in that guy. But again, I just think that we have so many weapons, and this plays to Matt Ryan's strength. Matt Ryan does not have to sit back, chunk the ball 40 yards down the field and complain that I was underthrown or whatever. He's got guys that get to a spot, and your man he's going to get it there in that window, and that's what Matt Ryan does well. Getting the ball there in there.
How many rings did Tom Brady win, dinking and dunking? How many games did Peyton Manning win, dinking and dunking?
More than I got.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, look at it like this. Last year, Calvin Ridley was in the top 3, if not one. I can't remember the graphic that I saw, in number of 20-plus yard catches. Okay? But what did that translate for us in the offense? Like, nothing, in a sense. Like, the offense wasn't all that great last year.
It reinforced our red zone issues, if you're honest.
Yeah.
We got to them. It reinforced that we got to the red zone.
Right.
And we punch it in.
Couldn't
we
punch
scored.
it in.
And that's a big reason why we got more 3s than 7s. And we need more 7s again. So
that's it. Yeah. I mean, and, the
like
route.
You said, myth buster. And I think we have more myth busters because Kyle Pitts is definitely a myth buster. I'm telling you, our red zone issues, for as long as he stays healthy, have gotten a lot more favorable as long as he's got
not just that, also the route concepts that you see just in practice of what they're like. You imagine what they're showing in a public practice to what they're not showing, right? I mean, the route concepts that Arthur Smith is deploying down there by the red zone. I don't think I've seen, like, I hadn't seen anything like that since, the Shanahan days, right? And since, definitely not the past couple years with under Cutter. It wasn't there. Like, if you weren't scoring outside the 20, it probably wasn't going to happen. Yeah. So, y'all forgive me. Sorry about that.
I'm gonna tell you right now. As far as the running backs, man, you think about 2016. I'm going to week 5, and I was speaking to you about this, JR. You pop on that Broncos tape, week 5, if I'm not mistaken. That's when Vic Beasley busted out with all them sacks. They used Patrick DeMarco and Tevin Coleman in a way that just wrecked the whole Bronco defense in the passing game. And Patrick DeMarco, he was underrated. I mean, especially in 21 personnel, man, where he was getting in route formations and they was wearing people out. And so I look for guys like Keith Smith to take on that role. I can about bet you that Arthur Smith, when he got the Flowery Branch, he popped on that 2016 tape and saw all those running backs making those plays or Matt Ryan and said, look, we got to implement this. Because that's why you're seeing so much of him doing it. Like you said, he didn't have a personality tendency to do that.
No.
But he has it here.
Yeah, that was the thing. Is like that was one of the things offensively that stood out to me. Is I didn't see hardly any like deep shots being taken. Which normally you'd be all like, oh, that's concerning. Well, it wasn't necessarily concerning because what it was also not doing, it was not forcing or asking Matt Ryan to hold on to the ball forever.
Right.
And that's something else that like will help and allow, the sack rates to go down and things like that, is the amount of, like well, I don't care if you have to beat it into his head. Check it down. If it ain't there, check it down. See, as fans, we sit back and watch and go, oh, well, why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? Maybe that's not what he's being told to do. Like if your boss is in your ear saying, look, dude, our goal is to push this ball downfield. If that's the emphasis and that's the goal, then that's what you're trying to do. So you're not looking at, Ito Smith or whoever, down in the, but if the philosophy changes and you got, now you have the guy in your ear going, all right, if it ain't there, then hit this. Or if it ain't there, hit this. Look for that check down. Look for that outlet. Like, if you take a scenario where the check down was turned into almost a curse word and you getting, popped on your hand, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm just saying as fans, we don't know what goes on, right? We can only make assumptions. Right. So I can only assume that if a 14-year veteran isn't doing what we consider to be simple things, there has to be a reason behind it. That's my thought process. I could be completely wrong, but what I did see coming, out of Saturday and what I have seen, you can go back and watch. There's a guy who was there for the Falcoholic, Kevin Knight, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Falcoholic Kevin on Twitter. He was doing a really good job of, tweeting out video clips and updates and stuff like that. For those who couldn't be there during the week, that was a really good thread, and I encourage all y'all to go find that thread.
Yeah.
Because what I saw a lot was checking down out of the backfield, and it wasn't just from Ryan. It was from A.J. McCarron. It was from Felipe Franks. So that tells me that that's baked into the philosophy, is what that tells me. It's not that, oh, this is just what we're looking to do, or not looking to do, but this is just what we're doing. No. This is what we're being taught to do in this system. This is how we're being taught to perform. That if this read isn't there, hit your outlet, hit your check down.
Yeah.
And, that's what keeps drives going. It is hitting those check downs. And at this point, I'd much rather trade in 20-yard bombs for drive sustaining. Maybe give your defense a chance to actually catch their breath before they have to get right back out on the field because you done went 3 and out.
I agree.
I agree. That was one of the things that stood out to me on offensively was the amount of throwing to backs out of the backfield. Speaks volumes to why you would want a guy like a Cordell Patterson, why a guy like a Mike Davis who had 1,000+ all-purpose yards for Carolina was intriguing to you. Now, if Quadre Olison, who Saturday spent the majority of time taking the second running back snaps, if he also shows you that he can catch the ball out of the backfield, that's a bust. Not a bust. That's a plus. That's a boon.
Yeah.
So defensively, dude, these linebackers, man, are a sight to behold. Like, whatever you might think of the defensive line, the linebackers are a bright spot. And I'm definitely enjoying, watching Mykal Walker all over the place, watching Deion Jones flying around, getting back to Debo things, jumping in front of passes and getting burned by Cordell Patterson, but almost still making the play. Like,
Right.
that was impressive to me.
Right.
You know,
right.
because
And
Cordell. Go ahead.
look, and another guy that we don't talk enough about that I think will continue to make that step and be, I think, a force to be reckoned with at the Mike position is for Luakon.
Oh, man.
I'm gonna tell you
Dude.
something. If you check the website today, he had an interception. I believe it was on Quadre Olison, where they were battling for the ball, and it looked like Olison had the ball in like mid-air. He snatched the ball out of his hand and secured it and intercepted it and came down with the ball. Like Foy Olukon is not the guy that I look to take. That he's one of those guys that, again, quiet leader. And if, like you said, you talk about linebackers being a bright spot, I would go as far to say the linebacker actually take the pressure off there a little bit. And you know what? As much as I want to give credit to Dean Pease, there's another guy who's not here anymore that I got to give credit to, and that's Jeff Olbert, because he was the guy who kind of was last year, I think, responsible for kind of getting the switch on the linebackers. He was the guy that said,
Yeah.
on blitz mode. We're just going to throw the kitchen sink at these teams because that's really hot. And it gave a lot of our guys a chance to grow up. For Luakon, definitely gave him a chance to grow up. Mykal Walker, that's why I think, again, when I did the Ask Jimbo, I did my question. They said, what player do you look to just stand out? I look for Mykal Walker to potentially have, I'll go ahead and say, a Pro Bowl year, just because, again, he's one of those guys, I say this like on the hill every week, that when he hits you step, and he will continue to do that. And he put on 15 pounds and looks like he's carrying it pretty well. That's going to be, like, again, that's a guy that you really want to look out for.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I think Walker is a guy who I'm super excited for. All right, we've had some other questions pop up, so we'll go ahead and jump back into chat. Ghost Pepper says, looking at Matt Ryan's numbers, with all the focus forces that worked against him last year, is very impressive. I believe Arthur Smith will work on his strengths, and Matt will have a great season. I mean, Matt knows what's on him, like straight up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there was that piece that he sat down with Steve Weish, I think it was. And Matt Ryan's not oblivious to, you know, what's going on around him. And so I think, as always, he's going to put his best foot forward and do the best job that he can. Dean Sloan says Zacchaeus is my wide receiver 3. He has the deep threat that Ryan loves. You're going to need somebody, you know, with that deep ball, you know, that deep threat. And Zacchaeus is definitely a guy who can blow the top off. And if people start forgetting about Patterson, he could be that guy too.
Yeah.
Woon Carter, he says, just a reminder, family, after tomorrow's Hall of Fame game, we have football every week through February. That's it. Like, from this week until the Super Bowl, there's either a pro game or a college game every week. So football is back, like full on.
Yes. Right on.
Ghost Pepper follows it up, says, defensively, I'm thrilled we are moving away from exclusively cover 3. We never had the rushers they had in Seattle to make it work. I'm glad the new staff will mix it up. Can't be predictable. That's I harp on it so much, but that's, I think, the thing that is going to make this team, like, I think the biggest upgrade is the coaching staff. You know, that's just where that's the way I see it on that one. Chris James says the D line is my biggest defensive concern, even more than the secondary. Yeah, because right now all you got is in knowns is Grady Jarrett. You know, and we hope that, you know, Tyler Davison, you know, provides more than just run support. We're holding out hope by all accounts. Marlon Davidson is looking like he's having a good camp so far. So, anyway, let's see. Ray Station says, what's good, my guys? What's going on, bud?
What's up?
Golf is Life says there are some kids in the background. Yes, unfortunately, we don't get to do this in a studio as much as we'd like to. So we got families, and sometimes y'all get to hear our families. So, but we appreciate you bearing with us. Let's see. Nick Munglow says, you know who was allergic to running the ball and motion and play action. I think he was talking about our previous OC. I'll tell you this, almost every play had motion. And like you saw a lot of play action going on. So, yeah, I mean, all that stuff is there to help the QB, identify, what the defense is doing. And, anything like it's the offensive job to try to fool the defense. And, Arthur Smith is definitely he takes that part pretty seriously. And I was enjoying watching that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys, the biggest thing that I can tell, and Arthur Smith said the one thing he noticed that they had was a lack of confidence, and you're definitely seeing that shine. And I think that's coming from Arthur Smith too, because I mean, you heard Deion Jones say today, ask, what could he improve? What could he, do we have anything to prove to the coach staff? And the first thing he says, nothing to prove. I just need to improve. And when you hear players saying stuff like that, that is showing the confidence that is coming from these guys, man. All of these guys, you are seeing a different level. And that, to me, is going to really help this team moving forward, that they feel like they can hang with anybody and whip anybody. And if you do beat them, you got to beat them.
That's, that was the biggest thing is, I did a quick interview while I was up there at Flowery Branch, which was kind of funny. Shout out to, oh man, my mind just went blank. It's Magic Wand, I believe his name. Yeah. Magic Wand, that's it. Anyway, shout out to him. He come up to me at camp and talked for a few minutes, and one of the questions that he asked me was like, what was my prediction? He was trying to pin me down on wins and losses and stuff like that, or what was my expectations. And my expectations, as it has been all offseason, is I want to see a competent football team on the field again. I want to see a team that regains its confidence in its abilities to play games. I want to see a team that fights all the way to the end of a game, win or lose. What I don't want to see is, a team that has to be up by 30 to hope to win.
Right.
Even in the Super Bowl year, I remember during the Super Bowl, told my wife that I was like, if we don't score over 30, we're not going to win. Right. And lo and behold, obviously we didn't. I want a team that can close out games in ways that it needs to close out. That's the one thing you could say about, a Patriot coached or Bill Belichick coached team is, during their heyday, during their run, they could beat you in multiple different ways.
Right.
And that's the kind of team that I'm looking for. That's the kind of team that I want here. That's the kind of team that I think we could have, honestly.
Yeah.
If I had to be completely honest with y'all. Is I think that we have a team that can go about it different ways. Especially as it's currently constructed right now with, the two tight ends, the backs coming out of the backfield. I know that our wide receiver core, at least as of right now, isn't necessarily considered to be a strong suit, but I think it could be by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Right up to this point, these 3 and 4 wide receivers haven't had to be thrust into the fire.
Right.
Because, you've had whether he was at full strength or not, you had Jones taking the pressure. Because as long as Jones was on the field, he commanded that authority. Well, now it's going to be their time to shine. Whether it's Ridley, whether it's Gage, whether it's Zacchaeus, whoever. It's going to be their time, to shine. And, I'm very interested. I feel like we got a smart, creative coach on the offensive side and defensive side.
Yeah.
And that's the part that has me, excited as far as my expectations for this season. And we ain't even talked about the offensive line yet.
Right.
I mean, we 50 minutes into this thing, and we ain't brought up the fact that Jalen Mayfield has been holding it down at right tackle. And by all accounts, looking pretty good at right tackle. Hennessy, there were some question marks coming in, but it seems like Hennessy is has got a pretty like iron grasp on that center position, which I
Yeah.
felt like people were quickly giving up on him from his starts last year. But when 2 of your 3 starts at center was against the Super Bowl playing teams, Tampa Bay and Kansas City, who both have nasty defensive lines,
Right.
like that's baptism by fire right there. So I felt like, you know, people were just ready to throw Hennessy out with the bathwater. But by all accounts, you know, he's come in with something to prove, and he's proven it. And then you got go ahead. No, go ahead, man.
No,
I'm running my mouth.
No, I was gonna say it, and I was one of them. If Matt Hennessy, listen, he got 2 strong defensive lines out the gate that he gonna have to deal with week 1 and week 2. Now, say what you want about the QB situation with the Eagles, but they still got a strong D line up over there. And you're gonna have to deal with them week 1, and you got week 2. You're going against Tampa Bay D line. So that's 2 weeks out the gate. If he can get past that and handle his own and against those 2 teams, week 1 and week 2, hey, I'm all in. I'm gonna support him regardless. You know, because right now you're starting to see guys that are emerging that clearly some of these positions is their job to lose. Josh Andrews, I know we was gonna get to talking about him. Right now, he's holding that left guard position down. Yes, he's being challenged by Dolman. But I think he's going to win that job out. A lot of people are not favorable towards him, but I'm one of the rare ones that seem to be, and I'm gonna stick on that train until the wheels fall off.
Yep.
Yeah, no, up. And by most accounts, Andrews is looking pretty good, especially in run blocking. So, like I said, I fell victim to hearing a lot of people say that Andrews, played like trash, and if we had to count on him at left guard, we were in trouble. And then I finally got around to making my, offensive line scheme video that I knew I was going to make early in the off season. So I told myself, all right, when I get to that, then I'm going to really dive into these players. And I tell you, dead up, when I started diving into Josh Andrews, I was like, man, this dude ain't taking enough snaps for anybody to say that he's trash. Because before last year up in Carolina, wouldn't nobody have been excited about Mike Davis? And you can't tell me that you would have been. He finally got a chance to prove himself, and that's what he did. And so at this junction, Josh Andrews is given a chance to prove himself. And we're going to see what he does with it. And so right now it seems like, at least in run blocking, he's looking pretty good. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah. I just real quick on the offensive line, I think that, this is more about, more about D-Led, and Arthur Smith, right? Because that's their strong suit, right? I think if there was anything, it's hard to measure, I would say, our previous regime, Dan Quinn, guy, right? One thing we know about his offensive line coach and himself, they know offensive line, right? So I think they have a high standard for what they want in the offensive line, right? Yeah. So, one, they put Jalen Mayfield in a fire situation up front, looks to be holding his own. That's good, because I think that will really pay dividends for us later down the road, because I don't really know what that means for McGarry or not. We can't really go into that right now.
Yeah.
But you know that right now, Jalen Mayfield getting the approval of his coach right now speaks great volumes to our depth, to our coaching, and the potential of this line, right? Because like you said, Altman, the versatility, like that, you use the word. I think that's a really good word for where we are right now. All right, Altman may be a center. Again, I would like to see what these guys do with pads on. Because one of those guys is not like the other. One of those guys is a little bit of fool's gold right now, and we'll figure out who that is. Very encouraging right now what we're seeing out of this offensive line. And again, I hadn't actually heard Jason Spriggs' name mentioned once, and it's actually not a bad thing because
I hadn't seen Spriggs at all. I know we signed him, but I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, okay, what happened? Keon Mitchell is asking, the safety battle is very competitive. Do you see Grant winning that battle? Like, he's starting, they're starting to throw some of the rookies in with the ones to see how they respond. And, like he had a good breakup on Kyle Pitts in today's session. So Grant is starting to make some plays. He may not necessarily start the season there, but it wouldn't surprise me by the end of the season if he's your starting, free safety, him and Deron Harmon. It's nothing against Eric Harris, but I think as Grant gets more comfortable with what he's doing and more comfortable with the scheme and everything else, I think his natural athleticism will eventually start to outshine Eric Harris. Right now, I think Eric Harris has the veteran savvy to hold him off, but I wonder just for how long,
So I might be by myself on this. I actually don't want Richie Grant to start right now. You might say, well, what am I talking about? We talked about Richie Grant as the guy that we're most excited about. I would say in year one, while we do have a Deron Harmon, while we do have an Eric Harris, I actually want to see Richie Grant more up on the line because I think that he can wreak more havoc there. I think Richie Grant could be the guy that shut down the flats because he has strong safety skill set and a free safety skill set. Richie Grant might be a guy we might need to cover a spot guy. I just think that he brings so much versatility that, hey, we got veterans. We almost need the veterans to be on the field to get the young guys in line, right? You almost need Harmon and Harris. I mean, again,
look, if it's a situation where he legit beats him out, then that's great. I don't want him thrust into it because we ain't got no other option. And I think that's the one thing I think Fontenot's done a good job is he's made it to where we shouldn't have to thrust anybody in there because we ain't got no other option. Now injuries might be a different story, like with Mayfield and McGarry, at right tackle. That might be that may not have been the plan, but at least that's it seems to be necessarily we don't want to be relying on rookies because there's no other option, right? The Real said, hated DQ soft cover 3. It didn't give our players' talents a chance to succeed. And that's the thing, right? It's can we, how well does, Dean Pease feature the guys that he has on the roster and their talents? Kenyon says, I appreciate you getting my name correctly. You guys always have great content. Well, I'm glad I got your name correctly because that's not something I normally do. So I took a shot in the dark and good. I'm glad squirrel finds a nut every now and again, right? So, but thank you for the compliment. Our friend from north of the border, Adam Holloway, just popped in. He says, got finished just in time. What's up, boys? What's going on, Adam?
What's up?
Glad you decided to pop in. Okay. Cottonmouth ATL put this comment up a second ago and I didn't get to it. He's put it up again. Oh, he just retracted it. It's all right. You put it up a second ago. I'm going to read it again. He says, how about keep the rook out at tackle and play McGarry at guard? Look, all I know is McGarry has spent the vast majority of his career, if I'm not mistaken, at right tackle.
Yeah.
Mayfield is the one who has moved around quite a bit, so it might be an easier transition. But I mean, right now, if Mayfield can hold it down at right tackle, I'm fine letting McGarry just sit on the bench myself. I mean, he's got a case of can't stop a speed rush-itis that I don't necessarily need on the right side of my line. I was going to be interested to see what Dwayne Ledford could do with McGarry, to see if he could coach him up. But I'm also okay with Mayfield just winning that out, Let's see. Go ahead, Toby.
No, I just think it would be tough if they go into the preseason and McGarry's not there and Mayfield's taking all those snaps and getting better. I just don't see McGarry being able to recover from that. I really don't.
I mean, because you also got to think you're dealing with a new regime that doesn't know you or owe you anything.
And the way it's looking, I mean, Dante Fowler, I know the situation that went down with his brother, getting sentenced to life in prison or whatnot, but he's been out for a minute. I don't know. curious of how that's going to go down, fellas. Really, to be honest,
it'll
he's
be
missed a
interesting.
lot of practice time.
Yep, it'll be interesting to see, like when he does finally get activated off that COVID-19 list. If like how quickly does he get back in the, in the rotation, especially with guys like Gage showing up more, with these pads coming on. Does he get the back into that rotation? Which, I mean, I'm sure he will, but it'll be interesting to see how he fits in. Josh Montega, see, y'all complimented me earlier. Now I'm going to mess up his name. It says, what's your thoughts on the pass rush? Okay, that's what we were just talking about. Do you believe we'll try to pick up someone in free agency or just stick with what we have? I think it's I think that first preseason game might give you an idea. Like right now, Cominsky's looking decent from the interior. Gage, like I just said, he's showing up on, being talked about. So it'll be interesting to see, like after this first preseason game, if they decide to add anybody else. Let's see. Adam asked us, have y'all talked about my dog, Chris Williamson, yet? We mentioned him earlier. Oh, Lord, Stu. Oh, good Lord. Okay. I'm going to have to. Whew. Okay, look. I got to read this paragraph because Stu just tipped us $10 and he's hitting me with some words. So I'm going to look. All right, look. Somebody just asked us about Marlon Davidson. Jarrett Robinson said, how's Marlon? So y'all talk about Marlon. I'm going to read this paragraph real quick.
All right.
That's your cue. Okay.
Marlon Davidson, I look for him to have a good year, right? I think he was the guy that'll tell you himself. I think the NFL was a little bit too big for him. His first year wasn't really focused. He'll tell you by his accounts, he had a bit of an attitude problem just because I don't think he gelled with the coaches as much as maybe was reported, right? But I do think he is a guy that was mentioned by Arthur Smith that has bought in. And he was a guy that was mentioned by Grady Jarrett as a guy that he enjoys to play with. Listen, Grady Jarrett is a rock. Grady Jarrett is an anchor. Whoever Jarrett say he wants to play with is good enough for me because that's a guy we really need to keep happy because he's been the guy that, man, been a workhorse, good teams, bad teams, good coaching, bad coaching. And again, Marlon Davidson, I do believe he could be a 4 to 6 sack guy this year, like, to be honest with you. Like,
Toby, your thoughts on Marlon? Anything jump out at you?
I like what I'm hearing, but I need to see something.
Right. That's just kind of where I'm at as well.
Yeah, I got to see something. When you get in the preseason, you got to take advantage of what
Hey, but Toby, we're doing too much talking now because somebody got home.
Okay. All right. Stu done tipped was $10, right? And he hit me with the
let's do it.
Camp confidence, calmly crafting, cooling cryocultures, creating core consistencies, creative cadres, curtailing crappy, condescending, cornicons, can't canalize constant crackles. Oh man, you got me. You won there. You won, Stu. You won. That was a lot. You won. You won. Oh man. Kenyon asked, that was great, Stu. Thank you so much for that. That makes me smile. Every time you throw one of those out there, that makes me chuckle. All right, Kenyon says, Toby, after maybe the second week of preseason, do you see us going after somebody like an Everson Griffin? So, I think you're like, I know you asked you, and I definitely want your answer, but I definitely going to be interested to see how this, how it, this first preseason game goes, and what moves they make after they see it live.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's waiting on is August 13th, next Friday, to see how this is going to go down before they make any more moves. And my thing is, I could see them making a move for a veteran, but I need to see what's going on with Dante Fowler. I know he's on the COVID-19 list, but I mean, shoot, Lee Smith came back after being on it for a couple of days. And it was somebody else that was on it and came back after a couple of days as well.
Cove Jones.
And And John Atkins.
Yeah, John Atkins is off of it.
Came back. And Still no Dante Fowler. I mean, what is really going on? Something to me, I think is smelling in the water. If you ask me.
I also wonder how much of it is. Maybe it was initially a COVID-19 thing, and then when that stuff went down with his brother, maybe he, stepped away as well to be with family, because that can't be an easy situation, right? So
yeah, I'm sure
it'll be yeah, like I said, I'm with you. It'll be interesting to see what they do after the first preseason game, if they go out and get. If y'all are at the practice this weekend at the Benz, keep an eye out for me, Toby, and Mike. We'll be there, running around with our pound for pound gear on. So if you see us, say what's up. And then I will be there on that preseason game, that first preseason game against Tennessee. So if you see me, say what's up. Always say hi. We like that kind of stuff. But anything y'all are looking at, like anything that you're still like, we've bumped up over an hour, so I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping this stuff up. But is there anything that you're still like wanting to see more of, wanting to see starting to solidify more outside of maybe the pass rush? I think seems to be our biggest concern right now. Is there anything else that has caught y'all's attention?
Well, I'll say this. I want to see some cohesion out of the secondary, right? Because I think you got a lot of guys who can do a lot of different things, but I want to see what that looks like on the game. I want to see if Fabian Moreau can really look solid in a whole game as a number 2 and not be a guy that gets picked on. Because I really do think A.J. Terrell, every year he plays, is getting closer to being a lockdown corner.
Yeah, now, he's looking good.
But we don't mention him a lot because he is. You just don't worry about the guy, right? But we need if Fabian Moreau can become a guy that we don't really worry about, like not to say a lockdown guy or anything, but we don't worry about him. He's not we can start to get real creative in that nickel. I think we can still get creative with Sheffield. We can still get creative with Darren Hall, even little Avery Jones, Avery Williams, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
Guys that, like I said, they can play the game. So those are going to be the guys I want to watch over the whole preseason. For the rest of the season, I'm watching secondary, like through and through.
Got you, Toby. What you
I just want to see the team continue, because you already seen glimpses of them being already playing mid-season form. I want to see them continue to grow on that, because if they can get to that level of play and practice leading into week 1, it's going to be a dangerous time for the Philadelphia Eagles and the fan base, because you're seeing glimpses of that confidence coming from Arthur Smith and his staff. I really credit that staff, and I just want to see them continue to build that confidence going into week 1. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
I think I'm with you too. Like, to kind of like, I'm gonna play off of some of the comments that I'm reading here, here in the chat for my answer. I want to see the wide receiver room continue to solidify. Yeah. Whether it's a Jamon Moore or a Tajay Sharp, is it a Zacchaeus or a Blake, I want to see these guys really cement themselves and in a way that, because, as somebody points out in the chat, and as you pointed out earlier, Mike, Russell Gage tends to like to throw his body in the way of things. And so if he goes down, like, what's behind him? You know what I'm saying? Right. And so, like, if we have to count on a Zacchaeus or a Blake for more than, like some solid reps for more than a game or two, can they perform? Derek says, what players from the Falcons will be in the NFL top 100? Grady Jarrett, I think, is the only one that gets any kind of recognition league-wide. Matt Ryan will probably be on there somewhere, maybe.
I mean, maybe Debo.
Maybe Debo.
Debo had a Debo.
But, when you come off of 3 losing seasons in a row, you tend not to get, your players tend not to get that league-wide. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Unless you're one of the media darlings, like the Cowboys, or, like San Francisco or whatever. They got good players. Every team's got good players, but because the media likes them, they stay in thought. Where, Atlanta is not a huge, media market in that sense for whatever reason.
Yeah.
so we don't get, put in front of people's faces. But anyway, so like I said, I think that's going to pretty much do it for us for this edition of the Pound for Pound. We appreciate y'all joining us. You can catch me on Twitter.
Yes, sir.
Grim1128, GRIMM1128. Mike?
Follow your boy Mike Dove, MIKE_DUB. Follow me, I follow you back, man. Y'all been keeping them follows in. So much appreciated. Take them home, Tobe.
Hey, man. Toby D, 1991.
That's right.
All day.
Well, like I said, we all three of us will be down at Mercedes-Benz this weekend. So look for us. If you see us, say what's up. You can always catch our content on the channel. I threw up one of those little shorts, kind of messing around with that. I don't know if I'll keep doing that or not, but either way, it's there. And so, yeah, I think that'll do it. And we'll be back next week with another live episode talking about what we saw at Mercedes-Benz. And I think we even may have an exclusive video coming out on Monday. So, yeah, that's it. And as always, Falcons fans, rise up.
Rise up.
And